My name's Tulip PeacenFlowerzstein, an old, elderly, weak, sad, pathetic woman. I just got out of a 36-year-long prison sentence and haven't ever been happier knowing there's one less faggot in my family, but devastated to know there's so many more. I've been locked up for decades. I was adopted at a young age, maybe 8 or 9. My new parents named me It. I later on changed it to Tulip, but being called AT majorly had a direct impact on me. We were all in math class, and this young, wealthy-looking couple come in. They walk around and stop at my desk. We are having a test. The first things I've ever heard them say was, "It's ugly, but it's smart. Doesn't even look human." Then the wife went, "It's more of an investment, if anything. I don't care about looks." And then the man yelled out, "Well, take it." And straight to the office, all of us went. We met with the principal, who took a cash bribe, so my adoption went undocumented. I was fucked. Weeks passed. It felt amazing to live in such a big house, but I knew it wasn't going to be too long until my new parents get into some sort of tragic accident. 2 days after that thought, they had a head-on collision with a tractor trailer carrying oil on a bridge. The police said that it was self-inflicted on what they found on the voice recorder. They claim they're just driving off the bridge and say it's all my fault and how much of a demon child I was. Then all you hear is them screaming for mercy and her saying, "We're headed right for that tanker trunk," in a frantic, panicked voice. Then a big explosion. I was then sent off to live with the woman's mother, who I quickly grew a fantastic relationship with. She had flowers all over her house. I quickly realized she was only pretending to like me. I confronted her about the matter one night after her butler cooked up a really nice smoked salmon with spaghetti sauce. It was a really good sauce, I thought, but my new mother insisted I call it that, since the butler's room is down in the basement. She struck me after I confronted her upon the matter, but not before asking the butler to get her brass knuckles. As he went to get the brass knuckles she kept in the jewelry stand in her bedroom, she came over to hold me down. It was such an aggressive 5 minutes. He finally came back, and I was scared as shit because they were some sort of Wolverine brass knuckles. They had some big fucking knives on them. The butler put them on her after she let me go. But then he was the one holding me down. She had many negative things to say about me. She even walked over to the fireplace to heat up the knives. She said, "You killed my fucking daughter. Do you think I'll ever let that go? There's a reason you were ever in the orphanage. Nobody ever wanted you, and nobody ever will." She started to walk back to me. She suddenly starts to run at me. She gets closer within a blink of an eye. She slashes my arm with the red, hot-bladed brass knuckles, then the side of my face. I was bleeding instantly, but didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel real. The butler still hasn't let me go and held me in a stern position. I was locked away in '87. The year today is 2023. Apparently much has changed, and the spreading of AIDS was socially normalized. I used to live with my beloved, handsome grandson who had so much potential and so much more going for him. I stayed with his mother too, my bitchy ass fucking daughter. She's a fucking slut anyway. I didn't think she'd mind if I killed one of her 6 faggot ass children. Apparently she really fucking cared. She still won't talk to me. I don't want to talk to that cunt ass fuck anyway. I pray to Jesus every day. I've never killed a person. That thing wasn't a person, but a monstrous demon. All faggots are. They're all out to get us. Whenever I see one, I get incredibly uncomfortable, and the violent thoughts start rolling in. I only pulled my Glock out on a dirty fag twice ever. I always keep it in my purse. They got so frightened. One of them even squatted down and put his hands up. The other, I've only ever pulled the trigger once. And he was the gayest of fags at the time. I never knew transgender was a thing. I thought he was just some ugly-ass fuck at first. His appearance was altered to make him look like a chick. This was the '80s, remember? I had just used the women's bathroom. This was at the best beach Atlantic City had to offer. I just wanted to step in for a minute. I told my boyfriend at the time, "I'll be right back." I was at the sink, washing my hands, and all of a sudden, there she is. I saw him strolling out of one of the many stalls from the reflection in the mirror. I was caught off guard and frightened. He was so ugly as a chick, even with the obvious surgeries. As he was walking up towards his hands, I naturally grabbed the 9mm from my purse and fired a few rounds. Something inside me just told me it was a demon. I couldn't be more right as I went to the bleeding out faggot, whacked that bitch in the face with my gun 14 times so fast a few people ran out of the stalls. I didn't care about them. They ran out in horror. A few minutes went by as I'm just sitting by my victim. It was a breezy day. The one tiny bathroom window let in a little breeze. A nice chilly breeze. A breeze that would almost blow up her skirt. It gave me the idea of knowing for sure this was a demon. I take a look and instantly know I'm on my path to heaven. A few muscular-looking, sweaty women come running into the beach bathroom, all in bathing suits. I assume they were working out. I've never been restrained so fast in my life. They were yelling at me as I was laughing, all covered in blood. I personally don't know if there were any witnesses, but my boyfriend at the time was so seduced by me that I easily convinced him to come on the run with me and flee the country. He paid for every expense, most certainly. We moved from the U.S. to Great Britain, to where I quickly adapted to a British accent and started to have tea time often. I was the only broad on the block to pour tequila into my tea. We were living in a pretty wealthy neighborhood. We had an elaborately fancy 4-story condo. No garage, though. We didn't think we'd need one, and spend all of our fucking money on that fucking house. The neighbors despised me. All of the women, actually, the men adored me. I often went over to their houses when my boyfriend, now fiancé, was asleep. Long story short, about 2 months into being in Britain, he informed me that he knew all along and had made close friends to quiet a few neighbors and kick me onto the street. Not before giving me the beating of a fucking lifetime, though, threw me down the stairs, dragged me violently by the ear to the kitchen, and bashed my head on the granite island. Only once, though. He was a fucking pussy. No demon vibes, though, so I just left. Now I was beaten, broke, and in Britain. What more could go wrong? Oh, a warrant for my arrest. I was wanted for grand capital fucking murder. Obviously, I didn't have my fucking Glock on me anymore, because how in the fucking world would I get that through the fucking airport security? Now I had to find a new sugar daddy and a Glock. I knew the only way would be prostitution. All I left with was a white tank top t-shirt and a black miniskirt. No shoes, wallet, or anything. My identity didn't mean anything to me anymore, and I didn't care. I could easily adapt to a nice British woman. I just needed a new identity. I walked for miles, just thinking to myself. That's when I saw my first gay club. I could just feel the demons. So many of them. So many of them, I went into a panic attack. I was just on the sidewalk in the front and dropped to my knees in ultimate fear, a fear for the queers. It was a popular club, had faggots lined up on the whole block. I could just feel the demons. So many of them. So many of them, I went into a panic attack. I was just on the sidewalk in the front and dropped to my knees in ultimate fear, a fear for the queers. It was a popular club, had faggots lined up on the whole block. I could just feel the demons. So many of them. So many of them, I went into a panic attack. I was just on the sidewalk in the front and dropped to my knees in ultimate fear, a fear for the queers. It was a popular club, had faggots lined up on the whole block. And they didn't care, just treat and go. They never ran a DNA test or anything. I wasn't dead. They didn't want to spend the money. I was practically off scot-free with a bill with no name assigned to it. I ultimately ended up pressing charges on the bouncer and was so badly wounded and still unrecognizable, the courts forced the club to award me $75,000. The hospital took about $30,000. I was on my way back to America, the way to heaven. Well, I bought a plane ticket and the flight went smoothly. The first thing I did was get a taxi from the airport to my daughter's house after I landed. I knocked on the door, but she answered. She knew it was me before I said hi. She, in a cunty but quiet tone, asked me, "What the fuck are you doing here?" "Leave, or I'll call the fucking police." Little did anyone know that I stashed my 9mm in the bushes a few blocks from the airport before I fled. and it was surprisingly still there when I got back. I aimed my Glock right at her. That's when my faggot-ass grandson runs to the door and shuts it in my face. I fired 3 rusty rounds right into their wooden red oval-shaped door. 2 more for good luck. I should have never fired those 2 more, because odds are it shot my grandson right in his dick. He screamed in bloody pain, and my daughter opens the door back up and starts beating me until cops and paramedics show up. I deny all allegations, and then my deadbeat daughter goes, I'll tell them who you are if you don't take these charges right here, right now. So I take home and end up serving 2 years in jail. That's where I learned being sexual is a thing, and that I may be slowly turning into a demon. Try to stay away from all faggots at all costs, but it's just so hard. I didn't shower for weeks because I knew the demons liked to do their gay sex in the shower rooms. They only added 4 more years to my charges for that one little demon murder on that beach bathroom. The courts agreed with me that that thing was a faggot, and that they would have been caught off guard, too, and showed his mangled body as evidence, and the judge couldn't help but laugh and said something along the lines of, this is what we're making a big deal about. It was clearly self-defense, this case. Then the judge told me how he feels when he sees faggot demons and claimed to me that he gives faggots extra time just for being a fucking abomination. Him and I hit it off right there. He makes the court security guard slide, give me his number, and I went over to his house the night of. He poured me a glass of wine himself, a bigger glass. He tells me he wants to let me off scot-free, but I gotta fuck him first. I didn't even have a lawyer, and all I need to say is, wow, he had such a small penis. He was a judge. He had money to be a little chunky, but you know what they say? The heavier you are, the smaller you are. I took that shit like a champ and acted like it was so big, it hurt. I honestly didn't feel a thing. Those 6 years in jail, turns out he lied to me, weren't as bad as it seemed. I went right to my daughter's house when I was released, and that's when I found out my grandson went fully trans. He told me something along the lines of, if you'd never shot me there, I don't think I'd ever have come out, but I need to tell you that I'm a woman, and I'm no longer trapped in a man's body, and I am so thankful and grateful for you. I was astonished you'd shot at the door at all, but I'm extremely grateful you shot me there. But I didn't like who I was. Now I can be whoever. I cut that faggot up and off right there. That was the most violent I'd ever gotten with a hatchet. His mother wasn't home at the time, but I left the mess there and just sat on the couch after making myself a pot of tea. Longest pot of tea ever. I only sat down for an hour or 2 on the couch. The demon's corpse just right in front of me. I used it as a footrest. You couldn't even tell it was human. I went so ham. It was never a human. It was a faggot. I wanted for my daughter to get home, and it looked like she instantly went into shock, and I went into pure laughter. I was amused. She was like, what the fuck is that thing? And ran up to it and asked why it was wearing her son's clothes. And shit, I didn't let her figure out it was him until I told her I'm a demon hunter and I'm on my path to heaven, and that all I did was get rid of a demon who couldn't be trusted. She instantly brought up the fact that I had my legs resting on him when she walked in and got really scared. Mad and sad. She couldn't even move. That's when I gently rubbed my finger across her face and told her not to worry. She was very worried. She then tried to run for the phone, but I grabbed her wrist and did what my ex did to me. Smashed that bitch's head on her countertop, only she got seriously injured and fell unconscious after the first blow, so I didn't do it anymore. I left and booked a stay at a Holiday Inn in town. By the airport,